So with those high caseloads, and the whole idea of the birth parents trying to be unified as possible with the kids, where would you say, if we were to get the caseloads down, which I think we're all in agreement that's really important, where do you think the greatest immediate impact is going to come, or where are we falling short? I mean, we're talking about safety, but the whole idea of permanency and reunification, where do you feel like the gap is biggest right now? Can you talk about that?
Well, I think without a doubt, this is almost like picking between your children as to which one's favorite. I think you have to fall, and the governor's charge to me is to fall on the side of protecting children. So that dictates that you really are focused on the front end of the system in your investigations and your ongoing work with families that have issues. Permanency, unfortunately, has to come second, although you need people actually assuring that those children are safe as well. So the immediate gains that we hope to see are just having enough caseworkers on the front lines to be able to spend the time that they need with families, because you are not just there to examine whether or not a reported incident happened. You're really looking at the entire functioning of a family to determine if there are things that are not reported that may be playing into the situation as well. The less time that you have, meaning the more cases you have, the less time you have to spend with each family, the less time you have, the less able you are to do a complete and thorough analysis of the family. And so my hope is that the immediate gains that we'll be seeing from the 278 staff that we've allocated this year is going to be in improved safety, especially on the front lines, but hopefully we're allowing those people that have been pulled from permanency caseloads to handle the backlog and investigations will then be able to refocus on their permanency caseloads. In the negative effects, in addition to the ones I've mentioned here, every piece of research that I'm aware of says that caseload size negatively impacts the time to reunification or permanency for children. So some children, it's never appropriate that they go back home. The higher the caseload is, the longer it takes to get children back. And the reason for that is a caseworker doesn't get the opportunity to meet with them and facilitate the visitation that's needed with birth parents or to assess the appropriateness of potential adoptive resources. So this is an effect that runs across the whole system. So this is, back there again. I was going to claim this for a minute, but I thought I'd better not do that. We've got media in the room. So this is actually from Arizona. I had an opportunity last week, which was eye-opening for me, to attend a meeting sponsored by Casey Family Programs of the 10 largest child welfare jurisdictions in the country. And we talked about a whole range of things. Arizona was one of the states that was represented there. If you have not seen this in the news, just to give you a little background, Arizona is going through their own crisis. They had a situation where their governor came to find that there were between 6,000 and 7,000 investigations that had never been initiated, that have been hid from her. And so she learned of that, initiated an investigation, and they've done a whole look at the system. This is one of the conclusions that they came to, which really is along the lines of what I'm saying. So the bottom blue circle there, insufficient capacity, so meaning you don't have enough caseworkers or resources to meet the need, results in high wait times on calls, which we have seen and rectified. A daily struggle to keep up with the priorities and to manage multiple different competing priorities. High reoccurrence of families coming to the attention of the system. We touch them, we don't put in adequate services, we don't have time to do the assessment we need, they come back to our attention. High turnover, it leads to inexperienced staff, which leads to a lessened ability on the part of the agency to be able to do the work that we need to do. And then high logs per investigator lead to backlogs in investigations, all of which we've seen. That leads to management and process challenges, and it goes across everything from insufficient training to insufficient clinical review, meaning the supervision that a worker would get. Ineffective management span of control, which is what I've identified with the current span of control for supervisors. You have inexperienced supervisors. Many of the ones in the counties with the highest caseloads are at a 2-year level. Within 2 years, I barely knew which way was up as a caseworker. And so you really do need good supervision. My saving grace was that I had a 40-year social worker who worked with me every single day for 6 months. She went on every home visit. She sat in on every interview I had with a family. And between interviews and home visits, she was giving me pointers. She was critiquing my work. She was telling me what to do in the next interview to build my skill. Had it not been for that, I would have been dangerous, honestly. So, you know, I'm reading the literature as quickly as I can, and I think part of the literature that I found just reaffirmed what I know. My job is to lay out for the system a vision and to bring together a plan in conjunction with those like you as to how we can get where we want to go. Now, you see what I put up here as a goal, that Georgia has the best child welfare system in the world. And I know that those of you having just seen the presentation that I gave may be thinking I need to be committed myself. But if we aim for less, we'll get less, and the children of Georgia don't deserve that. I can see from where I sit, although there are a lot of obstacles in our way, I can see us having a top quality child welfare system in Georgia. What it's going to take is for us to be committed now, but maintain commitment over time to do the things that we need to do. The basics involve caseworkers and getting them the training they need. There are also a list of priorities that are just draft at this point, and I put these out for your consideration as you do your work. Four things that I think we definitely have to do is we have to give a comprehensive assessment to the work that we're doing in child welfare. Do we have an appropriate practice framework? For those of you who are not familiar with the practice in child welfare, practice framework basically lays out the philosophy under which you do work. We are currently, we would tell you that we operate under a practice framework called family-centered practice. Family-centered practice is an awesome underlying framework. But I can also tell you that the extent of what we did when we rolled out family-centered practice, we sent a memo to staff. Family-centered practice is something that I spent a year training staff on in North Carolina before we ever did anything else. So they had to get the philosophical underpinning before we moved on to practice. And so I would suggest that we do the same here. Safety and risk assessment system is something that is very concerning to me. I know many of you are concerned with it as well. There are 3 prevalent safety and risk assessment systems out there. We operate under something we call safety response system, which is known nationally as safety framework. There are 2 others that are prevalent. One is structured decision making. It's probably the oldest, and the other is called signs of safety. What I would tell you about ours is that it is a good one, but it is extremely complicated. It's complicated for me with 25 years experience and a master's degree in social work. Imagine what it's like for a 23-year-old caseworker who has a bachelor's degree not in social work but in sociology or political science. Very, very difficult. Child and family well-being is another thing that we have to look at. You know, we can put Band-Aids on families all day long and send them on down the line. But if we don't attend to the well-being of the family, if we don't attend to the things that they need educationally to assure that families have jobs and the kind of things that help them have a good life for their family, we're really missing out. We're putting a Band-Aid on it, passing it on until the next time that they come back to the attention of our system, and hopefully not in a more dire situation. Permanency for children in our system is also extremely important. And those of you who know the federal government requirements around this, it's around safety, permanency, and well-being. I won't proclaim that the federal government does much of anything that I would base my work on, except this. They got this right. Safety for children, well-being of families and children, and making sure that a child has a permanent, loving family is what needs to be done in order to assure that we have the best system. Services to older youth. This is important because our older youth, if you look at the research around this, are those who are most likely, if they age out of our system, to not complete high school, not get a college degree, not be employed, and more likely to be in prison than not. And we can prevent this by either finding a permanent home for them or linking them with an adult who cares about them, provides them love and advice throughout life. If you think about it, I think back to when I was 25. I really still needed advice from my family at 25, and now brain research is showing us that truly the brain is not formed until around 25. And the most important parts of the brain, the area that controls the instant decision making and the impulses that people have, does not get fully formed until 25. You need somebody there to support you. Comprehensive workforce development. This is something, as I thought about this, there are many different aspects to this, but the staffing, getting that appropriate as we talked about, compensation for social workers to help us with the issue of turnover, initial and ongoing training and professional development. We have a training handbook that is about this thick, and we have a great list of courses. But I can tell you this, it's all classroom training or it's computer-based training. What we know now is that what we need is what I got. We need people with mentors in the field helping them, showing them the way, at least for the first 6 months, if not for the first year. And not only for frontline staff, you need that for supervisors and managers as they move up the line so that they get the same thing from an experienced supervisor or manager. We have also a need for specialized functions. Some of these cases are extremely complicated. The death of a child in a family, when there are children remaining in the home, you need someone who has top credentials, top experience to do those investigations. So that's one example of a unit that I really think we need to develop within our state office or within the regions where we have people who are trained specifically for that. There are other types that we can talk about at a later time. The third item here, I think, is something that I have tried to engage in every role that I've played in government, especially here in Georgia. It's engaging stakeholders, those people around this table, the legislators, the judges, the community in general. You have to have the support of your communities in order to be able to do this work. Without that, it's always going to be short of your best. And if we want the best child welfare system in the world, we've got to do it in conjunction with our communities. Also, we have to have increased transparency, and I think we have made major steps in that direction. We have, for the last 2 years, produced reports on the death of every child that had contact with our system for 5 years. We are doing a better job at that every single year. The public has a right to know when we make mistakes, and they have a right to know how we're going to correct them going forward. So that's really where I come from. Those are the 4 things I would suggest that this group consider is what I'm looking at as I do my work. And I think I'm right on my time limit, but I'm glad to answer a question or two if Stephanie will.